For nearly 4 decades, they were the couple everyone pointed to when someone asked whether love could actually survive in Hollywood. Warm, grounded, and seemingly unshakable, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson appeared to have cracked the code that breaks so many others. Then, in 2025, divorce papers were filed. What followed left fans, colleagues, and observers searching for answers they never expected to need. A childhood built on instability. Tom Hanks entered the world on July 9, 1956, in Concord, California, a quiet town that gave little indication of the extraordinary story about to unfold from one of its hospital rooms. His mother Janet worked exhausting shifts as a hospital employee, while his father Amos moved from one restaurant kitchen to the next, chasing steady income wherever it appeared. Janet carried the heritage of a Portuguese immigrant family, while Amos brought English roots that would eventually reveal surprising connections, a distant link to Nancy Hanks, mother of President Abraham Lincoln, and a bloodline that would later make Tom's portrayal of Fred Rogers feel strangely predestined. The family stretched every dollar across 4 children, and even that effort couldn't hold things together. In February 1962, when Tom was just 5 years old, Janet and Amos divorced in Reno. The 3 older children went with their father, while the youngest stayed with their mother. The split left Tom separated from his baby brother for years, a distance that lingered long into adulthood. Both parents remarried quickly. Step-siblings appeared. New households formed. New rules, new faces, new living rooms that never quite felt like home. The moving began almost immediately and rarely stopped. By the time Tom turned 10, he had already lived in 10 different houses scattered across Northern California. Sacramento, Red Bluff, San Francisco, Oakland, Reno. The family followed Amos from one kitchen job to another, and Tom followed along, becoming the kind of kid who learned how to adjust before he ever finished unpacking. He later joked that the family relocated every 6 months. He wasn't exaggerating by much. Things finally slowed in 1966 when they landed in Oakland, settling at a home in the Redwood Heights neighborhood a year later. For the first time, one address stayed still long enough for Tom to breathe. He moved through John Swett Elementary, then Bret Hart Junior High, and eventually Skyline High School, where a drama teacher named Raleigh Farnsworth spotted something worth nurturing. Tom threw himself into the work completely. Years later, he donated $125,000 to restore Skyline's theater, honoring the place where he first understood what he might become. Even in this more stable stretch, cracks showed. During his senior year, he moved out on his own, staying with a church family and working as a bellhop at the Oakland Hilton to cover his costs. The childhood that shaped him was one of emotional roles carried too young, returning to empty apartments, riding Greyhound buses 4 times a year between parents, navigating households where marriages formed and dissolved with little warning. Decades later, his daughter Elizabeth would revisit that instability in print. From theater stages to stardom. After high school, Tom enrolled at Chabot College in Hayward. One evening changed everything. He attended a performance of The Iceman Cometh and watched actor Joe Spano work a stage in a way that felt more alive than anything he had experienced before. He transferred to California State University, Sacramento, but also began working at a local theater where, during a production in 1977, he crossed paths with Vincent Dowling from the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival. Dowling recognized something in the young man and offered him an internship in Cleveland. The pay was $45 a week. The work was everything: carrying props, shifting sets, adjusting lights, learning the machinery of performance from the ground up. Tom eventually dropped out of college entirely and spent 3 summers in Cleveland, until the theater felt like home. By 1980, he had landed a role in Bosom Buddies, the sitcom that gave him his first real visibility. Then came Splash in 1984, made for $11 million. It earned nearly $70 million and repositioned him as a genuine leading man. 4 years later, Big crossed the $100 million mark and earned him his first Oscar nomination, confirming that something rare was happening. Rita Wilson, Hollywood-born, Greek at heart. Rita Wilson was born Margarita Ibrahimov on October 26, 1956, in Hollywood. Her mother came from the Greek community of southern Albania, while her father had roots stretching across Greece, Bulgaria, and Turkey. He converted to Orthodox Christianity, later changed his surname to Wilson, and built a home in the Hollywood Hills where Greek traditions, language, and music filled every corner. Rita often described feeling completely American at school and completely Greek the moment she walked back through her front door. Her father spoke several languages fluently, a skill Tom would eventually draw from when preparing for a film role, with Rita coaching him directly. She began modeling at 14, earned her Screen Actors Guild card at 16, and made her television debut in 1972. Roles followed on beloved series throughout the following years, and she built a reputation for bringing both warmth and precision to whatever she appeared in. Music was always underneath. As a teenager she sang in a folk group, worked as a ticket taker at a local amphitheater specifically so she could watch live performances, and quietly held onto a dream that wouldn't surface publicly until she released her first album at 56. When their paths crossed. Tom first met Rita in 1981 when she appeared as a guest on Bosom Buddies. He felt the connection immediately but was married to his college sweetheart Samantha Lewis at the time, so both of them filed it away behind friendly professionalism. The show ended in 1982 and they went their separate ways. 4 years later, they were cast together in Volunteers, filming through 1984 and released in August 1985. This time, the connection couldn't be tucked away. Their scenes together had a pull that even co-stars noticed. Tom later described the moment they truly looked at each other as something that simply landed, certain and undeniable. By then his marriage to Samantha was already fracturing under the weight of his rising career and long absences. They separated that year. Tom and Rita appeared publicly together as a couple in December 1986. His divorce finalized in 1987. On April 30, 1988, they married in a Greek Orthodox ceremony at St. Sophia Cathedral in Los Angeles. Before the wedding, Tom had converted from Roman Catholicism to Greek Orthodoxy, a decision he described as rooted in genuine respect for Rita's heritage and family history. He became an active member of the cathedral, attended regularly, made donations, and later ensured their sons Chester and Truman were baptized in the same font where Rita had been baptized. It was a complete embrace of her world, not a gesture. The marriage would be shaped by both triumph and serious difficulty. Tom's career reached its peak through the 1990s. Back-to-back Oscar wins for Philadelphia in 1994 and Forrest Gump in 1995 made him one of the most celebrated actors alive. For Philadelphia, he met with AIDS patients, lost over 25 pounds, and filmed in chronological order to document his character's physical decline with honesty and care. In his acceptance speech, he honored his drama teacher and a gay classmate who had died of AIDS in 1989. For Forrest Gump, he turned down a flat salary in exchange for a percentage of profits, a decision that brought him an estimated $60 to $65 million as the film earned more than $680 million worldwide. Rita built her own legacy during these years as well. Recognizing the potential in Nia Vidaloz's one-woman stage performance, she pushed to bring the story to film with the original performer in the lead role, against studio resistance that wanted a bigger name. Their production company backed it alone with a $5 million budget. The result, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, went on to earn over $368 million and became the highest-grossing independent film of all time. In 2015, Rita received a diagnosis of invasive lobular carcinoma. She had been monitored for a related condition, undergone biopsies, and received reports that indicated no cancer. Her instincts told her something was wrong. She sought a second opinion. The instinct was correct. She underwent a bilateral mastectomy and reconstruction in April of that year. Tom stayed beside her through all of it. She described feeling completely held, safe and supported at a time when nothing else felt stable. She credited him as the steady presence that carried her through the hardest hours. 5 years later, they were among the first major public figures to announce testing positive for COVID-19, doing so while in Australia in March 2020. Their public disclosure came at a moment when global understanding of the virus was still forming, and their openness shaped early conversations around it worldwide. The fractures that remained. In April 2025, Elizabeth Ann Hanks, Tom's daughter from his first marriage, published her memoir. She wrote about the emotional and physical difficulties she witnessed and endured during childhood years with her mother, Samantha Lewis, and described the neglect of those years clearly and without apology. After a serious incident in 1996, custody shifted to Tom, and Elizabeth moved to Los Angeles to live with him, Rita, and her brothers. 2 months after the book's release, Tom spoke briefly at a film premiere. He said he was not surprised his daughter had found the strength to examine the complicated realities of their shared history. He disputed nothing. It was a quiet, significant acknowledgement. Then came the news that reshaped the entire narrative. The couple who had weathered cancer, a global pandemic, public scrutiny, and deeply personal family pain, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, filed for divorce in 2025 after 37 years of marriage. The details that surfaced afterward raised questions that even their most devoted admirers found difficult to answer. Questions about finances. Questions about trust. And a family memoir that had already cracked open wounds no public image could fully conceal. For decades, they had been the example. The proof that it was possible. And then, quietly, while most people weren't watching, it wasn't anymore.